Challenge. That is the most important word for reaching men. It's always a, can you do this? Do you think you could complete this? Are you up for this? Something in you just clicks and you want to do it now, right? You'll never hear a motorcycle club say, men are really hard to reach.
So true.
You hear that in churches. The reason is simple. It's like you're not challenging them. Men get bored. My realization was I've got to surround myself with a group of godly Christian warriors who we are real with each other. Yeah. Let's get real and let's talk about our problems with our marriages, our problems with our kids, our struggles with sins. So I had this idea while I was sitting in church on a Sunday morning. As soon as the message ended, I walked right up to the pastor. We weren't members of the church yet. But I'd like to start a men's group here. And he goes, if somebody will start something here, wow, let me know how I can help you. His yes that day changed everything for me, right? Like,
hey, welcome to the Maverick River Podcast. We're so stoked that you tuned in today. We have a great episode coming up, a great conversation I think will be really inspirational. We're going to learn a lot about a ministry called Men's Alliance. We're here in the studio with my friend Eric Hurd and our guest today, Dave Mills from Men's Alliance. Dave, welcome to the Maverick River Podcast. So glad you're here. All the way from Virginia, fresh off the plane.
That's right.
Got some tacos.
Yeah, I got a coffee. I might either be really jittery or I might fall asleep.
Oh, perfect.
Either one. We'll see. I'm trying to balance.
We'll carry you if you fall asleep.
Yeah, the jet lag, the caffeine. I'm excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, we're glad you're here. So I want to just start and hear about you and your story.
Whew. All right. My story is I was raised in a Christian home and left all that behind when I turned 18 and left the house. And, I was definitely, blessed and fortunate to grow up in this awesome home, given all the advantages of a Christian upbringing, and just really didn't appreciate any of it, and just kind of walked away from God, and got married, went to college, got married, joined the Air Force. That was my story. And I didn't know how long I would stay in. I told my wife, I was like, we'll get out when it stops being fun.
Okay.
I just want to fly planes and see the world. That was kind of what I was thinking. And wound up staying in for 20 years.
Wow.
So I did 20 years. And along that path, God got a hold of me. It felt like he reached into my chest and grabbed my heart when I was 35, January 1st, 2015. I gave my life to Christ fully, and theologically we can talk about, being born again and believing in versus believing that, and the difference between the head and the heart and the will and all those things. But that was my moment where I just, said, God, I don't want to be in charge of my own life. I want to make you Lord of it, right? Like you take it. And if there's anything you can use me for, I'm all yours. I'm just a tool in your hands. And that's where real life started.
Yeah.
It started then, right? And I'm 47 now. And so I just wish I would have started that sooner. But I've got an incredible wife. She's been with me the whole time. We knew each other from high school, dated through college, and we've been married. Next month, it'll be 26 years.
Fantastic.
And we've got 4 kids, 22, 20, 18, and 16.
Awesome.
So that's the story in a nutshell.
So you crossed the line of faith and you used the word lordship.
Yeah.
What changed for you? What did it mean for you to understand him as Lord?
Yeah. I think about the verse in James, right? Even the demons believe in God and shudder. And I think there's a lot of people, especially in this country, in our culture, that say they're Christians and they acknowledge with their head, yep, I believe in God. I even believe that Jesus rose from the dead, right? Well, Satan believes that too. So what's the difference then, right? And I think Paul hits it with Romans 10:9, right? If you believe in your heart that Jesus is Lord, right? You confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus is Lord. And I think there's something to that, and that was for me. That's what that was lordship is saying who's in charge. The Lord is the person in charge, right? You think like the Lord of the castle, the Lord of the manor. Well, Lord of your life is simply it's surrendering your will. Right? It's a volitional thing. It's not just with your head saying, yeah, I believe there's a God. I believe Jesus rose from the dead. It's saying, and I want that God to be the Lord of my life. And I think that's a born again threshold that honestly, I'll say a lot of nominal Christians probably haven't crossed that threshold, right? They're probably going to church and singing the songs, but they're living for themselves, and they got one little corner of their life that they kind of keep a little fence around, and they're like, this is my little part, and I'm not surrendering this part, and that's not making them Lord of your life.
That's right.
Right? You got to take down that little fence, and you got to give it all to him and go all in.
Yeah.
And that's what making Jesus Lord looks like.
So was your wife already a believer, and then she had been praying for you, and that now you crossed the line?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I love a Christian wife. Oh, Lord, take a hold of this guy.
Absolutely blessed.
Yeah, we had another guest on here. His name's Neil Brewer. Same thing.
Yeah.
His wife was praying for him for years and living for himself. And he was out. He said, I was out in the woodshed tinkering, and all of a sudden he just felt the Lord just reach down and surrendered. But so you said January 1st, 2015, I believe, is the day you surrendered and made Jesus the Lord of your life. So you didn't go into detail, but what was it that led to that moment and that point? I'm sure there was many things that led to that, but why that day?
That day, my wife and I, we were staying at a bed and breakfast, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day in the mountains of Tennessee. And that morning I woke up just before sunrise, and I was sitting there watching the sunrise over these mountains, and I had just picked up a copy of My Utmost for His Highest. And I had picked it up like 2 or 3 days earlier with the intention, I'm going to start this
in the new year.
I'm going to start this on January 1st. And I was just kind of planning it very, it was not like a big deal in my mind. I was just getting a thing, trying a thing, gonna kind of try to do a little better in the new year, start a devotion, kind of like thoughts like this, right? And I'm telling you, I was sitting there in that bed and breakfast, sunrise, and I read January 1st in My Utmost for His Highest, and it just, that's when I felt like God was just reaching into my chest and grabbed my heart. And I was like, this is me. This is describing me. This is talking about me.
Yeah.
And, I don't remember the exact words from the page that day, but that devotion for that day is basically saying, like, if you're a Christian, you're wondering why things aren't working and things aren't firing on all cylinders, it could very well be because you haven't gone all in. I'm paraphrasing, right? And I was like, oh, that's it. Right? And he was like, nothing will ever change, and you're going to stay stuck as long as you keep trying to be in charge of your own life, and it's not going to be until you go all in. And I was like, I had been, in a position for a couple months that was very tenuous with my marriage, where it looked like it might end.
Okay.
And when you hit panic crisis mode in your life, and you're trying to do everything you can to right the ship, and this was coming out of that season of we were both committed to working on our marriage, but we had just come through that rockiness, and the key was I knew something had to change, right? Like, you can't just keep doing what you've been doing, living how you've been living. You're going to keep crashing into the same rocks over and over. So something's got to change, and it was me, and it was my heart.
Yes.
You talked about a lot of people, may have a faith, but they meander. What changed for you when it came to other men? In other words, it's really hard to grow and take things seriously by yourself. Did God begin to put godly men around you?
Oh man, that is so true. And in fact, so that was 2015. 2 years to the week later, 2 years, the first week of January 2017 is when I started Men's Alliance. And what had been going on in my life for those 2 years was I'd been doing everything I could. Like I was going to counseling. I was seeing a great Christian counselor and found a good church. And I was going to like all the men's things that they offered, which was a monthly breakfast. Yeah. Right. That's what that was.
It was safe.
They're like, what am I? I'm trying to do everything you guys are offering me. You need to offer me more. I need something else. And I remember my panic was this. I don't know if I can stay on this new course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That realization of like, I was between, 35 to 37 right there, that window of life. And I'm like, okay, I've just done a 180 with my life.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got to stay on this course for the rest of my life. I can't afford to drift because I know what's at stake. And I was, I felt like I was on a tightrope.
Sure.
Right. And it's one I want to be on, and I want to do right. And I want to be a good husband. I want to be a good father. I want to become more Christ-like, but I just don't think I can do this. And, my realization was I've got to surround myself with a group of godly Christian warriors. And specifically, I knew I've got to surround myself with godly Christian warriors who we are real with each other. Yeah. Right. It can't be the I'm fine in the church lobby as we're passing between services. It's like, it's got to be like, no, let's get real and let's talk about our problems with our marriages, our problems with our kids, our struggles with sins, and these kind of things. I was like, that's what I want. I know in my mind a picture of what I want, but I don't see it anywhere. Right. I'm looking around the church. I'm looking in the bulletin. I'm looking on the websites, and I'm like, the thing I'm wanting right now, I know what I need. I know what I want. I don't see it anywhere. And it was just simply a matter of, well, I'm just going to start the thing that I need in my life to keep me on course. And that's what led to I just started a small group at that little church, and started meeting with 5 of us.
So that first group was Men's Alliance, so to speak.
Yeah.
As a volunteer leader, I'm going to just start this, whoever wants to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So I used to be much more impulsive. I've been working on it.
Yeah.
I've been working on it. I try to sleep on things now, like once, one night. This one night.
At least one.
Right. Like maybe bounce it off somebody else. But I was really impulsive at 35, right? 37. And so I had this idea while I was sitting in church on a Sunday morning. And and the church was one of those old school churches with a steeple and stained or windows, not stained glass, just clear windows and a steeple. And so I could look out the window during the service, right? And I'm looking out the window, and this church just had huge grassy field. And I'm looking around the church, all the men in there. I'm like, there's a great field. There's a ton of men. And I'm looking in the bulletin at the quarterly breakfast. And I'm like, we need to add something right here. And so as soon as the message ended, I walked right up to the pastor. And we weren't members of the church yet. We had just started going there. And I walked up to him and I said, hey, I don't know if you have to be a member to start something or not, but I'd love to start.
I'm ready.
Yeah, I didn't intro this well to him, right? Already off on a bad sales footing. And
what are you thinking of starting?
I said, but I'd like to start a men's group here, if that'd be all right with you. And he goes, if somebody will start something here, I don't care if they're a member or not. Wow. Let me know how I can help you.
Oh, that's awesome. That's the response you want.
Yes. His yes that day changed everything for me, right?
That's
like
amazing.
he could have easily just poured cold water on that and been like, fill out these forms and we'll vote on it next month or something, right? But he was like, yeah, go for it. And I said, I want it to meet outside. I want to do a fire pit. He was like, great. So yeah, we kicked off January 2017 with 5 of us out there, and we did a workout. We had about 6-7 inches of snow, and we did a
We
workout.
had a lot here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. We've gotten that over the past 10 years.
snow was like a white precipitation, it's frozen.
Yeah.
We did a 30-minute workout in the snow, and had a big devotion around a big fire. We threw pallets. We had a big stack of pallets. We were warming up. We had a devotion, and that was it. It was not anything cosmic or earth shattering. It was just, let's just have a workout and a devotion. And it just felt like this was good. This was a good time. Let's do this again next week.
So you know some things about men, especially when it comes to church. And I forget the statistic you threw out, Tim. I think it's only about 10 or 11% of churches even have a men's ministry.
It's about 8%.
8%. And but you know some things about men, because obviously this ministry is successful, and you'll talk a little bit more about it. What do you know about men that, in essence, the average church doesn't know?
Challenge. One word, challenge. That is the most important word for reaching men.
Yeah.
And, so doing 20 years in Air Force flying squadrons, I saw the way the military appeals to men.
Yeah.
If you look at any advertisement you've ever seen for the Army or the Marines or whatever, it's always a challenge. It's always a, can you do this? Do you think you could complete this? Are you up for this? Do you have what it takes? That type of messaging, that's what appeals to men, right? Anybody tells you they don't think you can do something, something in you just clicks and you want to do it now, right? And so I saw this going on, and I saw my work life. I'm being challenged constantly, and I'm going and I'm flying aircraft, and I'm earning a call sign, and I'm earning a squadron coin, and I'm earning a patch, and I'm seeing the way motorcycle clubs do it too.
Yeah.
You earn a call sign, you earn a patch, and by the way, they took all that from the Air Force.
Sure.
Hell's Angels was the name of a B-17. So it's like you see these organizations that understand male psychology. They know how to reach men.
Yeah.
And you'll never hear a motorcycle club say, men are really hard to reach. We really have trouble reaching the men. Yeah. You ain't going to hear that.
So true.
You hear that in churches. And the reason is simple. It's like, well, because you're not challenging them, right? If you just offer men comfort and donuts and breakfast and coffee,
Small group.
or a book club, book club and a coffee shop. Listen, there's nothing wrong with any of those things.
No.
Those things are all good. But they're not enough.
Right.
Right. They're good things, but men get bored.
Yeah.
And if you keep us too comfortable and too fed, we'll enjoy it for the first week or two, but we're not going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Cause it's like, again, you gotta challenge us. So the messaging behind Men's Alliance is we're a ministry for Christian men who want more challenge, both physically and spiritually. And I think that just simple male psychology that's been used for centuries, in the military and motorcycle clubs and fraternities.
Yeah.
They're another group that gets it, right?
Yep.
And just taking some of that and taking the good parts of it, taking the good elements of that are healthy and challenge, and really important is that's how you create brotherhood.
That's right.
Right. And so we have this saying in Men's Alliance, men don't bond over coffee cake.
Yeah.
Right. And you think about the best friends you've ever had in your life. Usually men's best friends they've ever had were from playing a sport together, right? When you were doing 2-a-days, or being in the military together. And there's just something about, we could meet for breakfast every day for a year and not bond.
Yeah.
Right. But if we run around carrying a telephone pole and crab walking with a sandbag up a hill, we're best friends at the end of that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know why that is, but that's just how we are.
Yeah.
And so when we get men out of their cars in the parking lot and we kick off each Men's Alliance tribe meeting, we dive immediately into a 30-minute workout.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And there's something about the magic that happens during that workout that when you finish and then you sit around the fire for the Devo, the magic has already taken place. You've bonded, you've sweated, you're out of breath, you're grabbing a bottle of water, you're all high-fiving, and now when you sit down to talk about your week, to talk about the topic or whatever it is, you open up, you share in a way that you wouldn't do if you just walked straight from your car to that fire and sat down.
And there was coffee cake.
If there's coffee cake. I love coffee cake, obviously.
I actually saw that on your website in the FAQs, like, what's your issue with coffee cake? I'm like, I don't know the backstory, but this is funny.
There you go.
Now I get it.
Now you get it.
So there's so much, as I was learning about your ministry, and so much of you said, Eric and I resonate. Like, basically, shoulder to shoulder is kind of what we say. Men bond shoulder to shoulder, rather than face to face at a coffee shop, having coffee cake, whatever that may be. Even breakfast. How many breakfasts have we had where you don't go deep, or they're not authentic? Right. You keep it surface level, but. There's more. There's a lot that you guys do at this point, being a ministry since 2017, so to speak. I love the militant aspect of it because we do some of that at Mariners with challenge coins and such. But share more like broad level and then micro level of what is Men's Alliance.
Yeah. Each step of this that I'll describe, each step of this kind of was built along the way as we went, right?
Yeah.
So when I went up and talked to the pastor that day, I wanted to start this group. I didn't have any of this stuff in mind.
Yeah.
And it's just been really cool how you build the next step when it's needed, right? When you realize there's a need now for another step and what that needs to look like, and you build that and you create it. So what we've come up with is We've got these 3 different levels of training that we call them. We call them our levels of training, right? And the first one is brotherhood. So the first thing we want to do is get men out of isolation and get them into a tribe, create that band of brothers. And that's where the man earns a call sign when he's been welcomed into the tribe, and it's
How many times do you have to show up to get a call sign?
We say a minimum of 3.
Okay.
But we leave it up to the tribe. Right. So when they get to know you well enough and they're like, yeah, you should get your call sign tonight, and we do it very similar to the way Air Force flying squadrons do it. We make you stand up on, all of our tribes have like big tractor tires for flipping over, for working out. So it makes for a nice stage.
Oh, sure.
So you stand up on the tire.
Perfect.
And you just introduce yourself, tell a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what's your background. And, that just gives the tribe some material to come up with some good ideas. And groupthink takes over and ideas come flying out. And so every call sign should tell you something about that guy, right? So they're not arbitrary and you don't get to pick your own. In fact, if you like it, we don't want you to have it. A good call sign. A good call sign is one that you take begrudgingly.
Okay.
You take begrudgingly and then you grow into it.
Okay.
Right.
So you're Goose?
I got Goose.
And we got to learn about.
Yeah.
So some good examples. All right. So here's kind of the way a good call sign is, right? Like we got a guy in our tribe who is the produce manager at a grocery store. So his call sign's fresh. Okay. We got a guy that runs really fast. And he has 5 kids, so he's rabbit. Right? The dual meaning call sign is even better. If you can get a dual meaning.
I got you.
Right? Maybe a guy from Minnesota who's a big Vikings fan might be Thor. And so each of these, when you're first meeting and getting to know guys, it reminds you something about him.
Sure.
It's a thing about that guy. Maybe where he's from, maybe a hobby. Maybe something about a sport he played or his career or something like that. And so those are all in good fun.
Oh, yeah.
And then kind of our second level of training is leadership. Once a guy gets in a tribe, gets that call sign, we want to get him to lead a workout. We want to get him to lead a devotion. We want to get him to build a fire. So we don't want you to just come to a tribe. We want you to come to your tribe. And we want you to help run this thing and put your fingerprints on it. And so creating all of these, they're kind of micro leadership opportunities every week, because a guy doesn't have to commit to leading a small group or running a Bible study. He can just sign up to lead one Devo, right? And it's funny because some guys are, they feel really comfortable about leading one, but they're scared of the other, right? Like, I'll lead the workout, but I cannot lead a devotion. I am not qualified to lead a devotion. Or they're the other way. They're like, oh, I'll lead a Devo, but there is no chance I'm leading a workout.
Sure.
I'm not qualified to do that. And
so you're intentional about this. I mean, in the sense that if you're going to ask people to lead, there's a reason you're going to ask them to lead. What's the big reason?
Okay, so the big reason is we want to get men leading their homes, their families spiritually. So we view the tribe as the training ground. I've been surprised to learn over these couple of years in Men's Alliance how many men have never prayed out loud with their family, never prayed out loud with their wife. And so you start realizing, like, man, this is where for some people, this is where the bar is, right? And the win for this guy is going to be getting him to pray out loud with his wife. And so we're going to have that guy lead a devotion, right? And it's okay in Men's Alliance. You might go to a Men's Alliance tribe and you might come check one out, and you might walk away from it thinking, that was like a C- devotion. And we're okay with that. We're absolutely okay with that, because the win is not the devotion. The win is that this guy led it. Right? And the same is true for the workout. Now, you might come to one and it's an A+ workout and an A+ devotion, and the next week it's a different guy leading. It's his first time, and it's kind of fair, and he'll improve and he'll get some feedback and he'll do better the next time. So we're creating these real low entry levels for men to practice leading in a super low threat environment and improve. And, you know, the ultimate goal, kind of like you asked, being getting men to lead their families spiritually. And so after you got the brotherhood and then the leadership, our third piece is the discipleship, right? And this is where we have our program is called Carry the Fire, and it's what a guy does to earn his Men's Alliance patch. And it is it's a 8-week discipleship course where we train men in what I call kitchen table apologetics. And basically we're teaching men how to have these conversations at their home, in their kitchen, with their kids when they're riding in their truck, equipping their kids to know what you believe, why you believe it, to create a family. You know, we're a men's ministry, but it's all, you know, steering the family. Right. We want to combat that statistic of 70% of kids who go to college as Christians leave as non-Christians. Right. So statistically speaking, your odds of graduating college as a Christian are better if you were not a Christian when you showed up your freshman year. Right. And of course this is because, you know, and I'm just gonna be really blunt here. A lot of churches play a lot of dodgeball with the kids and eat a lot of pizza and have a lot of concerts, but they don't give them any meat. They don't give them. Here's how we know that the Bible wasn't made up in the 4th century at the Council of Nicaea. Because I mean, you think kids, if you heard me say that and you thought kids aren't interested in that, they don't want to know that, you're wrong. Because they've all watched the Da Vinci Code and they all wonder, oh yeah, that's a good question. How do we know that, right? And so our Carry the Fire patch program, we train dads how to respond to stuff like that. How do you know this whole thing wasn't made up? What's the evidence for the resurrection? How do you respond when your kid says, Christianity might be true for you, but it's not true for me? Or maybe all religions are paths to God. And we just take all the common stuff, right? We're not trying to give anybody a PhD in theology, but we're taking like the common stuff that our culture is saying, that our culture is asking right now, and equipping the dads to go home and talk about it. And so that's the whole thing right there, from brotherhood to leadership to discipleship. And, we our visible piece of Men's Alliance, the part above the water level, is the workout and the fire, right? That's what you see when you drive by it in the parking lot. But really, we're a discipleship ministry.
So it starts with a tribe, with a workout, fire pit, some sort of devotional. As those guys get going, you say your next step is a carry the fire 8-week.
Leading in between there.
Yeah.
Leading in between there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then those are the three main components.
That's right.
Got it. And these have spread all over the country.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
This has been just one of the coolest God things for me to just watch. I couldn't make this thing grow if I tried, right? That would be insane. And so after meeting every Monday night for 2 years, my tribe around the fire, a guy was like, "Hey, I want to start one of these at my church." And I was like, "Oh, that's such a cool idea." So I just kind of helped him a little bit from a distance, and he did it. And he got the thing going at his church. And then the next year, that happened 2 more times. So when we got to the point where we started getting about 6 of these, and one of them was out of state, and then another one was out of state, and I kind of started realizing, like, man, this is just something that's just resonating with men everywhere. And there were just men that just heard about it and contacted us and said, how do I start one of these? So I started, like, putting it down on paper, started putting it down on a leadership guide and a how-to, and all that stuff you do. And right about the same time, I was coming up on 20 years in the Air Force. And
so while you were building this, you were still in the Air Force. Okay.
Yeah. I was for the first 5 years, actually, because I got out in 22. And so 22 is where we kind of went public.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like our IPO right there. And so we made it a 501c3, and I decided to get out of the military and just do this full time. And it was crazy. I had just gotten my last active duty paycheck. It was September.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
It was September, and my retirement paperwork, I'd already dropped it. My retirement date was 1 October.
Oh.
And I'm laying in bed, and at this time, I had 4 teenagers. Yeah. This was like this rare moment where, like, one just turned 13 and the other was still 19, and you're like, man, I got 4 teenagers. And I was laying in bed that night, and I just started panicking. I was like, what have I done?
Yeah.
I need to see if I can retract my retirement paperwork in the morning. This is no time to stop earning paychecks. And this is when you're supposed to start earning the most. And I was panicked, and I said something to my wife, and in her wisdom, she was like, just go to sleep. Mm-hmm. You go to sleep, and let's see how you feel in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. And in the morning, I had this realization of, I felt great in the morning. No stress. Kara was like, how you feel? Are you still thinking about? I said, it's going to be fine. We're going to be missionaries. That's how we're going to view this. Mm-hmm. I said, we're going to become missionaries to men in America. That's what we're doing. And she goes, okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And, it was hitting the gas pedal ever since then. So what happened between then and here we are now is we started a podcast, and that's a great way for people in other places to hear about you.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, we had a guy in Pennsylvania, shout out to Stack, built us an incredible website. And then Fresh, our produce guy, right? Fresh started the podcast. So you got a guy, Stack, starting the website, and Fresh starting the podcast, and then guys just start hearing about it everywhere. And now we're over 400 tribes, 400 something, and we've even got a few popping up in other countries now. And so
it's awesome.
It's not like we're trying to launch tribes and trying to grow and trying to get in other countries. It's just we're just trying to keep up with God.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to be the break. right? And so if this thing's growing, I'm trying to help men in different places, and really cool thing. That's why I'm here, right? And so the Southern California tribes right here are doing their first all tribes tomorrow, and these guys all started it, and they've each started their own tribe, and they're putting this thing together. So it's very decentralized.
Yeah. And
we're in, the last time I counted, I think we're in like 9 different denominations.
Wow.
So, we've got our statement of faith written, and when anybody wants to start a tribe, we're like, hey, here's our statement of faith. You got to agree with this. And what we've seen is that thing really unites a lot of people, right? People from a lot of different denominations that disagree on some different stuff. Well, they're like, well, we agree with this. And so we kind of changed it from calling it our statement of faith to calling it the essentials, right? Kind of based off of that statement, in the essentials, unity.
Yeah.
Right. And non-essentials, was it liberty, and in everything charity. Right. And so we kind of liked that phrase, and we're like, this is the essentials, and it's okay for us to disagree on a whole host of things. We can all disagree on, sprinkling and submersion and
dinosaurs
and eschatology and young earth and old earth. And I tell guys, hey, don't lead devotions on this kind of stuff. For one, that's not a real world devotion. That doesn't sharpen me to be a better husband or father next week.
Yeah.
So leave the academic stuff that divides denominations at home, and let's talk about our real struggles around the fire. And hey, anybody that agrees to our statement of essentials, will help them launch a tribe in their area. So
part of this whole thing, just listening to you, is that I almost wish your organization didn't have to exist, because then you would know the church was doing it right.
Right.
You are correct.
Yes.
You're correct. I'm not trying to sling mud. When you think about what is the church, well, we are the church, but your statement is true, right? If the church we're doing it right, there would be no need for Men's Alliance. But we're like a fuel additive that a church can just pick up. We've already built the formula, and just pour this in your tank, right? In addition to whatever else you're already doing, keep doing it. Don't do less. Just add this option to your buffet, right? I talked to a pastor one time who goes, I don't get it, man. He goes, I don't get why anybody, a big thing is we're always outdoors no matter what the weather. Mm-hmm. And he's laughing. He's telling me, he's like, there's a whole group of guys out there last night, man. They were all out there doing burpees in the rain. He was like, I do not get this. I'm just going to tell you, I do not understand your ministry whatsoever. He goes, but they seem to.
You're right.
And they seem to like it, and they seem to get it. And that conversation kind of led us to the analogy of Men's Alliance is like, if you owned a buffet restaurant, you'd put things on your buffet that you personally don't enjoy eating, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're just a good businessman, and somebody likes this, right? And so I tell that to pastors. I'm like, you don't have to get it. You don't have to like anchovies to know you should put them on your buffet, because the people that do like them,
that's it.
They love them.
That's it.
And there ain't nothing else on your buffet for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you look how Jesus prepared the apostles. He did not sit them in a classroom. When he took them to Caesarea Philippi, the pagan temple, I mean, they were probably scared to death. And they're going, what in the heck are we doing here? But it was doing. Men learn by doing. Men learn by being with other men. Yeah. And he trained them in that method. And again, I was trained in seminary and stuff. And you just feel like if you just teach God's word, people's lives will be changed. And what you miss is men learn by doing. Men need a God-sized challenge, not sitting in a classroom or sitting in a pew. I'm not negating that.
Right.
But like I was discipled when I was 17, started a youth ministry when I was 18, scared to death. 57 junior hires show up. I'm 18 years old, and I'm supposed to teach them God's word. And I was scared to death, but I knew right then and there what it was going to be like to be a man and to step into challenge, because I was discipled. And when you ask a group of men today, how many of you have been discipled? I would say maybe 10%.
Yeah.
So you're filling a void the church
the Great Commission
has really missed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Boy, there's an awful lot to what you just said.
Well, because I was fortunate enough to be discipled.
Yeah.
And like Tim and I have talked about this thing of when a woman says to a man, her husband, I need you to be the spiritual leader,
Yeah.
they freeze.
Yeah.
What
What
the
does that
heck
look
is
like?
that?
What do I do?
Yeah, what do I do?
So many men, I mean, this is a design thing, clearly, right? God designed us to, have to work together to figure this thing out.
That's right.
And so many men say, well, my wife is more spiritual than me. And they are correct.
Yeah.
Right? She is. But she's not called to be the leader. Right? And so you got a lot of men that will say, well, my wife is a better spiritual leader than I am. And that's comfortable for men. Mm-hmm. Right? We would be just fine on the sideline letting somebody else lead. Men have a lot of inertia. It's really hard to get us up and started on anything, but once we get up and moving, it's really hard to stop us.
Yeah.
And so when a family has created the dynamic of the husband spectating while the wife leads, that's a major muscle movement to shift away from that. But what we want to equip men to realize is it's really not as hard or scary as you think. And you just take one small little step. Maybe it's just leading your family in a prayer at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just saying a prayer with your wife when you lay down in bed at night. Or maybe it's just saying a prayer with your kids before they walk out the door to school or something like that. And a guy hears that and he's like, I can do that. Yeah. Right. And that's it. That's it. That's leading. Right. And so sometimes men hear leading my family spiritually, and what they envision is like they've prepared a 30-minute Bible study, with some PowerPoint, a dry erase board, and they're going to lead their family in a song, and then they're overwhelmed. And so I'm always telling them, like, that's not what we're talking about in the first place.
Yeah.
Right.
You would lose them anyway if you tried that, right? It's better to go for more frequent, smaller touches.
Yeah.
Right? It's more moments, more often, that are shorter in duration. Share a verse. Yeah. Share a verse that you read that means something to you. Share it with your family. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, I can do that. There you go. See, you can do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And some of it is just modeling the Christ-like behavior in the home and showing your kids how to love their mom, and
that's it.
How to love each other and talk to each other without, criticism or bad attitudes, and just showing them what it means to love like Jesus. And of course, you add in I just read this verse. Yep. This is what it means to me, and leading at the dinner table with the prayer or before bed. All that's awesome. But I think so much with kids is caught, not taught, of course. Right. But then, just one small step.
They need to see you.
That's right.
They need to see you reading your Bible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See you dating your wife.
That's it.
All these things.
Because it's really hard to teach or to lead when you've never had an example. And most men have the father wound like I did.
Yeah.
My dad abandoned. My stepdad was an alcoholic from the military. He was in the Marines, and he was a drunk. Mm. So when I got into marriage and I first became a Christian, I was so grateful. That's why I asked you about godly men. Mm-hmm. I started hanging around godly men. They knew things I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I've done that my whole life. And like I deal with a lot of men who hit the wall, their lives unraveled. 99% of them have no godly man in their life.
That's absolutely it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's correct. Yep. And so that's why our first step is that get out of isolation.
Yes.
And get into that band of brothers.
Yep.
So important. There's an element too here that we're kind of touching on about our culture, and these father wounds and these lack of healthy Christian male role models in lives of young boys. We have generations now, not just one. We have generations of men who don't feel like they are men. Yeah. Right. We started putting together a rite of passage ceremony, for dads to lead their sons through. And I've done those with both of my sons who are now adults. And so we start building one for Men's Alliance fathers to go through with their sons. And I start hearing men who are like in their 30s saying,
I want to go through that.
heck, I want to go through that. I never got that.
Yeah.
Right. And I started realizing, I was like, yeah, you're right. There should be a thing, right? It was never conferred. And it leads us to this realization that women can't make men.
No.
Right. It takes a man to make another man.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's a father or a grandfather or a mentor or whatever the case may be. And this is really where that phrase, a man among men, comes from, right? Like, you're really not a man until you're among men, right? When you think about, like, that's like the highest compliment you can pay to a man, is to say he's a man among men, right? And so the piece of that is you got to get among men, right? And for a lot of men who maybe were raised by a mom, and they never feel like it was conferred, they always feel inadequate. The idea of showing up at a men's alliance is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand. And I've seen a guy before pull into the parking lot and just sit in his car watching us. He's thinking, I want to see what this thing looks like.
He's afraid of being found out.
Yeah.
A lot of men who are isolated are afraid of being found out, that they won't measure up.
Right.
Yeah. And for this guy, this story, the next week he got out of his car, but he got out of his car 30 minutes late, so he didn't have to do the workout. So he watched it from a distance one week. The next week he came over to the devotion around the fire.
Yeah.
The next week he was at the whole thing.
It's awesome.
And a few weeks later he was leading.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And that to me is the win. Right.
Great...
And this was a guy who had has a physical disability. He's been in a car wreck and broke his neck and doesn't have use of his arms.
Wow.
And so he was, not sure if he could do this stuff physically. And I said, man, listen, it's everybody there. We're all got something broken, right? We all got bad knees, back, shoulders. Like, you just come out there, man, and you just do what you can do.
Yeah.
And he needed to hear that and see that, right? And so he had the physical disability, raised by just a mom, kind of had all those little strikes that a man could use as an excuse. But this guy, he got over every single one of those, and he was out there leading. And we watched that guy do a 180 out there. And so I share that story because we've all got a thing. Mm-hmm. We've all got a thing where we're afraid of being found out, right? Maybe we've got an addiction. Mm-hmm. Maybe we're just super out of shape. Maybe we have no idea. We haven't cracked open a Bible, in ever.
That's it.
Right? Maybe our marriage is falling apart or whatever. It doesn't matter. We've all got a thing. Just bring it to the fire.
So most of them, because you say they all have fire, which is, I think, every good...
We're all pirates.
all men's good.
Yeah.
There's something about a fire, and I'm sure we could talk about that for a while.
Primal.
Yeah,
it's primal. What are we going to stare at while we're talking?
Exactly. No, I've talked about this a lot. I have a men's group that there's always fire.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There's something about that, and sometimes I always say, hey, if I invited a bunch of you guys over to my house to sit in my backyard and never mention a fire pit, wouldn't that be weird? They're like, well, why would we sit in your backyard?
Why would we even be?
What if I say, hey, come over, we're going to do a fire, and there might be some libations, and oh yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, we're going to sit around in a circle and stare at the middle of the circle, it'd just be weird. You need the fire. So are all of them at night?
That's so great, man. I need a minute to keep laughing at that. If you said, hey, I want you guys to all come over and let's sit in a circle in my backyard.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm out.
Insane.
Right? But that's what you're doing.
Committed.
That's what's happening.
That shows.
But the fire breaks.
Demonstrates how important the fire is.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so to your question, no, we have actually the most popular tribe meeting time is Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Saturday mornings are the most popular. Usually, most of the tribes usually start at 7. We have some that start at 8. We have some that start at 6. You roll out there. It's still cool enough in the early morning that the fire's great. And then a lot of them are 7 p.m. on weeknights.
Right.
So I go to a Monday night at 7. We have some. Those are the most common. Either weeknights at 7 p.m. or Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. But we have some weird ones. We have we have like a weekday
Whoa.
at 6 a.m. So you think like that tribe leader, he's out there building the fire at 5:30. And when the first guy wanted to start one of those, I thought, good luck with that. And it has surprised me. It
I can
has
see
blown up. Yeah, guys,
morning people.
a lot
Did
of
you know
morning people.
Well, I mean, at our church,
So
we have more men's groups meeting in the 6 a.m.
Yeah,
hour. There's
yeah.
no fire,
Yeah.
but like that's a very accessible time for a lot
it
of
is.
guys.
And so those times, they don't take away from your family.
Right.
Right. You're out the door before anybody in your family's woken up. And, depending on your age of your kids and what stage of life
sure.
you're in, like, a weeknight at 7 p.m. doesn't take away, So, yeah, that's usually when men, and we tell every guy that wants to start a tribe, we tell them start it whenever it's most convenient for you.
That's right. Otherwise, how are you going to
You're the driving factor.
Yeah.
You pick it. And so we've got some that are like Sunday nights. We got some that are, we have one tribe that is, I think only one to my knowledge, it's Friday night.
Wow.
And that was the one we were like, a Friday night? That's
lot to
literally the
compete.
worst idea ever.
Yeah.
And the guy said, I want it to be on Friday night because me and the buddy that I'm starting it with, we have a history of doing bad things together on Friday nights.
It's great.
And we're turning that around with this. And instantly we were like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. We're offering men an alternative place to be on a Friday night.
Yeah,
So
it's
you
perfect.
almost can't pick a bad time.
It's good. No, I have there's a ministry group under Maverick River with what's happening with the next generation and Gen Z and 20 somethings coming back to the church. This is a group on Friday nights, every other Friday. It's at an awesome man cave warehouse I have, and there's 20 to 50 guys that show up in their
Wow.
20s.
That's amazing.
There's not fire, but there's food.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is I want these guys not hitting the bars and
Yeah.
chasing girls on a Friday night. It's an alternative Friday, just like you were saying. So that makes sense.
That's
So one big question we touched on, but we didn't get to is, how are you, Goose?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a pretty underwhelming story. Some people are familiar with this movie that came out in the 80s
Yeah, I'm familiar.
about naval aviation. So
Little Top Gun.
when I was standing on the tire, I was still active duty Air Force, and I spent my career as a navigator. And so you get on the tire and you're kind of telling a little about yourself, and I'm like, married, 4 kids. I'm from North Carolina. I'm in the Air Force. And, everybody asking questions, like, what's your favorite sport? What's your favorite sports team? What do you do for a living? And, so like, what's a navigator do? And I said, hey, I sit behind the pilot and I tell them where to go. And so that stuck. And
Wingman.
and so it's been funny as I'm over these past 9 years of Men's Alliance and getting older, like, nobody knows that reference anymore.
Yeah, but Top Gun Maverick came out, so that helped.
It did, but they didn't catch, the old throwback
Yeah.
moment.
I mean, Rooster was his son. They alluded,
guys-
but not. You're right.
I'm always surprised people coming up and they're like, how'd you get Goose? And I'm like, I'll tell you later.
Yeah.
I'll tell you after the workout. No, but it's been one of those good ones, right? Because I've had guys come up to me over these past couple years and say, hey, I know how you got your call sign. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm sure you do. Right. And they're like, it's because, like the way geese fly,
Nah.
there always has to be one at the lead, right? Taking the lead in that beat. And I'm listening and I'm like, this is a way better story.
Yeah, that's.
I'm going to, yes.
take that one.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it.
It's at least relevant.
And so it kind of morphed into this thing where people talk about, the way we tell everybody that's a tribe leader or any position in MA, we tell everybody, do it for a season, sprint for a season, start training your replacement from day one, and hand this thing off to somebody else in about 18 months.
Yeah.
And so we don't want guys burning out with Men's Alliance. We tell guys, like, this is a marathon, not a sprint. We're in it for the long haul.
That's it.
Right? Like, take a turn at leading, give it all you got, and then hand it off, just the way geese rotate from the front to the back.
That's it.
And so that's kind of become.
So you've really kept it simple. Just sitting here, like I walked in and told Tim, I have no idea about this ministry, but I like the concept because I know the vacuum in the church today.
Yeah.
To have so few churches understand what lights a fire under men. It's a man-sized vision.
Yeah.
When Jesus said, if anyone wishes to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily and follow
That's
me.
a challenge.
Yes. and
Jesus used the challenge method to reach men, right? He told everybody, I don't think you're up for it. Let the dead bury the dead, right? Foxes have holes, birds have nests. Every conversation was a challenge.
That's right.
To the man. Oh, you want to follow me? Go sell everything you have and give it to the poor, right? Like we don't speak like that culturally anymore.
Yes.
As Christians. And when we read that, we think, even as 21st century Americans, we're like, Jesus, that was kind of rough, right? You were kind of harsh on the guy, Jesus. So that should be like a red flag right there. Like, hey, if we think that Jesus did things wrong, maybe we're the ones that need to change, right? And that is the key therein to reaching men, right? Is do it the way Jesus did. Challenge them. The guy, David Morrow, who wrote the book, Why Men Hate Going to Church. And I've talked with him. He's been on our podcast, great guy. I've heard he's about to release a new book called Why Men Love Going to Church, which I can't wait to read. But anyway, in his book, Why Men Hate Going to Church, he tells a story about a man who went up to his pastor. And this was like a true story from his church in Alaska. This guy goes up to his pastor and was like, hey, I want to change my life. I want to turn things around. I want Jesus. And in the book, the story, the pastor says, I don't think you're ready for this. This is serious. This isn't something to just flippantly jump into, and turned around and walked away.
Oh.
And we read that and we're like, it's
horrible.
What are you doing? What are you doing? And the guy like chased down and pursued the pastor. Was like, hey, no, I'm serious. I want this. The pastor was like, you sure? Because this is gonna be hard, right? And we read that story, or we hear that story, and we're like, what is this pastor doing? It's crazy. But he's actually doing it more like the way Jesus did it. Right? He's doing it the way Jesus did it. Like, I don't know if you're ready, man, but it's so culturally shocking to us to hear that. But I think I've kind of taken a page from that playbook and been like, this is the challenge men need. And so one more little aspect I'll share with you about Men's Alliance, because this gives you your listener gets a good view into our culture. Here's a good story about our DNA. So every month we have a memory verse. Every month, every tribe memorizes the same memory verse. And every tribe leader randomly calls on a guy at every tribe. If you have a call sign, we don't pick on the new guy. All right, and if you don't know the month's memory verse, you have to do 5 burpees.
Ooh.
So nothing difficult or hard, but just enough to make you like cram in the parking lot. Because you're like, I don't want to be the guy, And most tribes have kind of implemented their own thing of like, they'll all do them together. They're not going to make the guy do them by himself. It's like, everybody up, he doesn't know the verse or whatever. And it's just kind of a fun thing, but it's also a challenge because we say, why is Bible verse memory considered to be a kid's thing?
Yeah.
Most churches, the only people there that are being challenged to learn a Bible verse are the kids.
That's a good
And we're like, no. The men should be leading. Nobody should be memorizing more scripture at the church than the dads.
Yeah.
And so we kind of put this into place, right? And so we've got that as an important part of our DNA is you got to know the monthly verse.
Yeah.
And it's nothing hard. It's nothing cosmic, but it's important. And one of our 12, this is where I was going to this point, is in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world.
Yeah.
John 16:33. Because we chose that as one of our 12. It's hard to try to pick just 12 Bible verses. You're like, what are the 12 ones we want men to learn?
It's one per month.
One per month.
Got it.
And we were with the same 12 every year. So if you're in Men's Alliance for a couple years, you're really going to know these 12.
I love it.
Right. And we chose John 16:33 because of this notion of, hey, if I become a Christian, it'll make my life better. Right. Health, wealth, all this stuff. I'm in it for what it's going to do for me, and being a Christian will improve my life. And just trying to kind of combat that.
Yes.
That false doctrine. And we want men to realize, hey, that you're signing up for something that Jesus promised was going to be hard. He promised the world would hate us as it hates him. Don't forget, you're following a man who got crucified. You think it's going to turn out different for you, right? And so we want to create this discipleship ministry that puts the emphasis on this is going to be something hard. This is not something easy, but that's okay because you were designed to do hard things.
Yeah. I love it. Man, Goose, I'd love for you to share where our listeners can find you, but then if you don't mind closing out in a word of prayer for those who are tuned in today.
I'd be honored to. So you can find out more, go to men'salliancetribe.com, men'salliancetribe.com. We got a weekly podcast. We got a map on there to help you find the tribes in your area. We got a team of guys to help you start a tribe in your area. Oh, I should mention, it's free. Men's Alliance is free. We don't charge a charter fee or a membership fee. We invest in starting a tribe somewhere, kind of a pay it forward model. We have enough guys whose lives have been changed that they're donating to help start the next tribe. So yeah, check us out. We'd love to have more tribes, especially in this beautiful Southern California area.
You can come out here more.
I need to come out here
Bring
more
your
often.
family next time. We'll take care of you.
I will. So thank you guys so much
Oh, thank you
for having me on the
I love hearing
podcast.
about what you're
Absolutely.
doing, and
a
the
great
impact is awesome. And I love that this is just like you said, it's pouring fuel on the church.
Yes, sir.
It's not competing.
That's right.
It exists because the same reason Maverick River exists. We want to help churches build up their men.
Amen.
And that's what you want to like.
Amen.
We're in alignment in that way. We want more men engaged and surrender to Jesus Christ. So
Amen.
Great work. Love for you to pray.
All right, I'll close this out. Father God, I thank you so much for this opportunity, Lord, for me to come out here and be in California and meet other godly Christian warriors who are on the exact same mission. Lord, we thank you for this podcast. We thank you for these men. God, I ask that you will just multiply the efforts that we put into this, God. Multiply our efforts. Lord, I pray that you will bring people into our lives that need to hear about you. Give us opportunities to be ambassadors for you, God, and help us, Lord, to reflect you to every single person we meet. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to Maverick River. Share this podcast and make sure you check out Men's Alliance. And if you're so led and if you're up for the challenge, join a tribe near you.